Welcome back to Chance Myanmar. It's great to see you again. Today, we are going to look at how you can share your ideas professionally. We are going to give you some useful expressions to use when sharing opinions, agreeing, disagreeing, what you should do when you're interrupting, and how you can suggest alternatives. Are you ready? Let's get started. It's important that you know how to share your ideas in a professional setting in a positive and inoffensive way. This is an important social skill. This is why it's so important. Now, sharing ideas can be quite frustrating for students. You know what you want to say, but you find difficulty finding the words and expressing yourself clearly. So we are going to try to improve that for you today by giving you lots of useful phrases and expressions that you can use. Business is all about problem solving. So there are going to be times that you need to agree with people, disagree with people. You're going to have to interrupt them and suggest alternatives. We're going to look at phrases for you to do that today. You need to think about cultural differences because you don't want to be seen as unprofessional or rude. It's important that you think about the level of formality needed in each situation. Remember, I've already told you that every situation is not going to be the same, and there's nice language that you can use in different situations. Let's take a look at some phrases you can use to express your opinion. Now, I think, I believe, I feel, in my opinion, we should start working on the next project as soon as possible. I believe we should start working on the next project as soon as possible. You try. How strong is your opinion? You can change the strength of your opinion by adding some adverbs and adjectives. Let's take a look at these. I really think. I strongly believe. I truly feel. We should start working on the next project as soon as possible. Remember, anytime you have an opinion, and especially a strong one, you need to be prepared to back it up. So because, fill in the blanks. Why do you feel as strong as you do? Let's take a look at some more formal ways for you to share your ideas and opinions. Now, the phrases that we've just been through, they're perfectly fine, but you need to think about your settings. Perhaps you are meeting a client for the first time, or you're in a sales meeting, or you are negotiating. So you're going to have to talk a bit more formally. Let's have a look at some phrases that can help you do that. So, from my point of view, from my perspective, in my view, it seems to me that. How would you complete these sentences? I'd like you to write these down and come up with your own examples. Now, you have some useful phrases for sharing your opinions in a more formal way. What about asking for opinions? You are going to have to do this in business situations. So let's take a look at some examples. What do you think of? Fill in the blank. What are your thoughts on? How do you feel about? What's your opinion on? Again, you should be writing these down. I want you to fill in the blanks and come up with your own examples. So you're in a meeting, you're having a great discussion, and you like some of the points that are being said. You agree. So what are some ways that you can show that you agree? Let's take a look at some phrases. I completely agree. You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. I guess so. You could be right. You may have a point there. Notice the strength of each expression. If I say, you are completely right, absolutely, I couldn't agree anymore, this means I 100% support what you are saying. These are strong expressions. If you say, I guess so, you may have a point there. These are fairly weak. So you need to think about how strong you are agreeing with someone. Now, I want you to think about this, because this is a mistake that I hear a lot of students make. I am agree with you. I agree with you. Agree is a verb. Be careful. I am agreeing with you. No, I agree with you. You need to think about your intonation and body language when you are agreeing. You'll probably have a look like this. Yes. Oh, I couldn't agree anymore. I totally agree. Yes. Maybe you have a point there. Now we're going to have a look at how you can disagree. You have to be very, very careful here. You don't want to be too direct and cause offense. Can you imagine being in a meeting and you said, "You are wrong"? I think you might get fired. Be careful. Let's have a look at some phrases. I want you to think about stronger phrases and some weaker phrases. So, I'm sorry, but I don't agree. I'm afraid I disagree. I completely disagree. I totally disagree. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if I agree with you. Can you hear the differences in strength? In some situations, you are going to have to disagree politely. If you're meeting a client for the first time, to say, "I totally disagree," is rude, it's too direct, and you could ruin an otherwise positive relationship. So let's have a look at some phrases you can use to disagree, but respectfully. I see what you are saying, but you have a point there, but I understand where you're coming from, but I agree with you, but that may be true, but I see your point, but I guess so, but not necessarily, because notice the buts. So you are saying that you see what they mean and you understand their point of view. But let's take a look at interrupting. Interrupting is not nice for anyone to do. It may be more difficult if you have a meeting and it's not your native language. So let's take a look at how we can do that. Now, is it okay to say shh to someone, or would you reserve this for children? What about shh? Shh. Absolutely not. This is not polite. You need to think about your body language. Remember, this is 55% of your communication. So if you need to interrupt, imagine you're at a meeting. You could perhaps put your body forward, sit forward a little bit. This would suggest that you have something to say. And then you could say, "Sorry to interrupt, but," or "May I add something?" When you've finished, sit back to let everyone know that you've finished your point. Now, you could use "sorry, you were saying," after interrupting somebody. And then, "Please let me finish." This is if you are being interrupted. Now, imagine you're at a meeting and things are starting to go all over the place. You will have to redirect. So there's some nice phrases that you can use to do that. So let's get back to the point. Getting back to, you were saying that this is going to bring the conversation back to the original point and refocus. Like I said earlier, business is all about problem solving. So you are going to have to make suggestions. Let's take a look at some phrases you can use to do that. We could start working on the project a little sooner. Maybe we could start working on the project sooner. I think we should start working on the project sooner. I don't think we should start working on the project sooner. Why don't we start working on the project sooner? How about, fill in the blanks. How could you complete these phrases? That brings us to the end of this lesson, but as usual, I would like to give you some tips to take away. So, tip number 1, remember the importance of your body language. Your body language has the power to change what you are saying, so you have to think about it. Tip number 2, you have to practice these phrases. They are essential. So I told you to write them down, make your own examples, and then practice saying them aloud. And tip number 3, I want you to think about cultural differences. You did great today, and I hope to see you in our next lesson, which is all about mastering the telephone. See you soon.